So hello everyone, and it's month 2 of volume 5 of Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. So we're up to our second prompt, or our second project I should say, not prompt. And so for this project it's something a little different. We haven't done this before. The project needs to be something wearable. So that means you have a lot of different options. So something wearable. You could slow stitch and mend some old jeans. I don't have any that I can do that to, but if you had some old like Levi's or something like that, you could do some slow stitching, mending of your jeans. Mum wants to find a denim jacket in an op shop. I don't know if she's done that yet. She's been looking. And she wants to do some slow stitching on that. So that will be really good to see once she's done that. I'm sure it'll probably take her more than just 1 month to do. You could do a brooch. You could do a necklace. You could do some earrings. Now you might think, how can I slow stitch these things? Well, you can do all of that. If you look on Pinterest, you'll find a lot of slow stitch brooches, or you'll find some earrings that people have slow stitch pieces to. What I'm going to do, I've always wanted to do a slow stitched bracelet or cuff. So I'm inspired by this really old piece of quilt. It's very old. A lot of the fabric is threadbare. And I love the blues and the creamy colours, and also the red. And this might have been black once upon a time, but it's kind of like brown, like a dark brown now. So I'm inspired by this quilt. I've actually ripped a little bit off, some of the blue. And what I've got under here is what I'm going to be doing. So I don't think this will take me a whole month. I might get several of these done, or I might do one little bracelet cuff, and then I do something else and something else. We'll see how the month pans out. I'm not going to tell you what Rach is doing. She can tell you next, but it is something different to me. So what I've got, these are all little pieces, mostly scraps off old quilts, and I've just ripped them up tiny. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer them down on my fabric, starting with a lot of neutrals and the base. A lot of these will get covered up, or partially covered up. We'll see how we go. I don't know if you can see, that's got a really faded blue stripe. So I don't want to fully cover it up, because I want to be able to see some of the base pieces. So just let's have a play around. Got a lot of blues, a lot of creams. Like these are tiny little strips, tiny little bits I've ripped off old quilt blocks. I've got random quilt blocks, bits and pieces. Some I got from Deb, from Doll's House Vintage. Some I have bought from Melanie, purveyor of Reclaimed Textiles on Instagram. And some I don't know where I've got them from. I could have got some from the Sewing Basket, but I don't know, maybe or maybe not, I'm not sure. They don't have a lot of that kind of stuff. They have quilt blocks, but not old vintagey bits and pieces. I'm very envious of the lovely quilt pieces that people find in the US. I wish I could find stuff like that. And obviously in the UK as well, you get some fabulous stuff. So you can probably see where I'm heading, red, white and blue. How unusual. Little bits of old mattress ticking. I love this little piece that's off an old, that was an old quilt block. I'm just going to make it smaller. Ripping the bits up. And I need to put a piece of the blue that I showed you before. I like that side because you could see some of the original stitching. I feel like we need a different colour down here, and then a little pop of red. I don't want to lose those stripes there. All right. I quite like this. I think this will be a cute little cuff. So all I'm going to do, really simple. I was going to put that hole somewhere. It's like a buttonhole. Maybe, I don't know what my closure is going to be. I have an idea, but I'm not 100% yet. We'll work that out next week. Little tiny pop of red in there might be good. Another bit of this. Let's just layer this under. Yeah, I like that. It's like French style. And then I've got heaps of French labels, mix bags. Recently I got 2 bags. There's lots of labels. And I'd love to find a really old looking one. This one looks old. And of course, I might need some buttons, but we'll see. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to Canthor stitch this. One person I wanted to mention, the mending space. The mending place? No, the mending place, I think it's called. On Instagram, I'll link it below. She does lots of lovely slow stitching, basic mending, etc. I love looking at her stuff. It's wonderful. So, I like the 13 as well. Maybe I'll put the number. Anyway, I'm going to get stitching. The mending space is a good place to have a look for some inspiration. So this is just going to be one cuff. I will back it. I might back it in an old piece of like some kind of navy blue like this, but this one's super fragile, so I'll find another one that's less fragile. And then I'll put like either a little loop and a button, or I'll do some plaited pieces that you tie, but I might do the loop and the button. We'll see. Okay, so let's pin some of these in place. That can go on later. So many good ones. I just received them. They're from a lady. If I remember, I'll link her as well, from France. And so they're lovely old ones. Or some are old, some look newer. But if you want to get variety, it could have your initials, it might not. I've already got quite a few initials that are meaningful to us, like RC. I think I've got RR, etc. I'm always looking for family initials. So I don't need any of them really, but I love putting just mixed ones on. It's a good way to get them in a mixed pack, because then you get variety of, she's got numbers and letters and different styles and different sizes. Okay, I've somewhat captured the bits and pieces. All right, so what am I going to Canthor stitch in? I could do red thread, I could do navy thread. I think I might do a little bit of feature of those colors later. I could do like a plain one like this. If I want it to be a little bit smaller, less noticeable, I could do this. I'm just deciding, do I want to do this or this? I do want to do small stitches, so there's a lot of stitching on it. Decisions. I'm going to go with this. So it's quite a thin crochet cotton, and I am just going to do the stitches the whole way along. I'm not going to change direction on this particular piece. Someone asked me that about my snippet roll. Did I change directions? I can't remember, so let's have a quick look. I'm a little tangled. Yeah, I did do different directions on each base fabric. I did different directions. You don't have to though. You can go one direction. It's not a big deal. What I have done, I've done a lot more stitching. I've still got a bit more green to do, but I'm almost done on this. So that's pretty much, that flower's done. These ones are done. That's as much as I'm doing on there. It's just a bit more of the green stitching that I want to do. And then I'm just about ready to put my pouch together. It takes a long time. Sorry, you can hear that noise of my puppy. Puppy's got the zoomies, running around, having fun, playing. Even though he's had 2 walks today, he should be settling down soon. It's almost bedtime for him. I'm just trying to thread my needle. I'm using quite a fine one, so it can be challenging to thread. I really like that. It'll go nicely. I've got quite a thick wrist, in fact a very thick wrist. It will go nicely. I like to wear obviously navy, white and touches of red sometimes. Okay, so just come up towards the edge. I want to do, like I said, fairly small stitches. Once these fabrics are in place, I'll remove the pin. With raw edges, I like the frayed edges, bits of frayed threads coming out. So I don't think I've told you yet. Did I tell you? If I haven't, I'm going to tell you again because I can't remember. But towards the start of the term, which was last week or the week before when we had some stuff, our art department kind of had too many classes. Like you have for people that aren't teachers, and I'm assuming this is similar for people who are teachers overseas. You have a certain amount that you teach. So over here you have like a teaching load. For us, it's around 40 periods in a fortnight, and they're 50-minute periods for a high school teacher, just a normal high school teacher. But when you have different positions in the school, for example, I've got a leadership position, you get a reduced load, so you get a certain amount of periods off. And what happened in the art and design department, which includes design and technology and things like that, all their teaching loads were full, but they still had a class that needed to fit, and it just wasn't fitting with anyone because people were full. In fact, I think some people were what we call overload, and you never really want to be overloaded. It makes a really difficult year. It means you just got too much. So my friend Sue-Ann, who's a brilliant art teacher, she thought that maybe I was interested. Now I have taught art a little bit at my old school, but that's like, I know that's like about 23 years ago, so it's a really long time, and it's a very different school to what I'm at now. But she knows I do all my sewing stuff. She's actually seen quite a bit of it, and I have lots of ideas, and so she suggested that I did that. So they asked me if I'd like to take one Year 7 class, which is the youngest age group that we have in the part of school that I work in, so 12 and 13-year-olds, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give that a go. And then pretty much within the space of 24 hours, when all the timetables were being worked out and stuff like that, I ended up with 3 art classes. So I actually now have 3 art classes, 2 Year 7s, 2 Year 8s, so the 2 bottom year groups, 2 Year 7s and 1 Year 8, sorry. And then the rest of my load, which is another 4 classes, is in my normal subject, which is what I'm trained in. So I'll be learning as I go. I think I can, for the most part, I can handle the creative side of things. With Year 7, they're practicing basic skills, and I'm following the lead of my friend Sue-Ann, and doing some cool sort of creative ideas that she's given me. I've had the younger boys drawing animals and practicing lines and patterns by doing Zentangles in their animals. That's been our first week of stuff, and then like we'll move on to next things, and they gradually build up skills. And then with the Year 8 boys, they're focusing on landscapes, and we're looking at landscape artists. They'll be drawing, painting. They're learning how to draw in. We've done 1-point perspective. We'll be doing 2-point perspective next, and they'll sketch, you know, like city blocks, corner blocks, that kind of thing, and then eventually do some digital designing on Illustrator. And I have not used Illustrator before, so that's going to be interesting. That's something I need my son Jamie to teach me, because he knows how to do all that stuff. He's great at that stuff. Yeah, so it's been interesting. I enjoy the art classes so far, so good. and we'll see how they go. I just hope I'm not completely lacking compared to the actual people that know what they're doing. But, you know, if it came to textile art, I'd have no issue. In fact, I'd be teaching the art teachers textile art. And even though we're an all-boys school and you don't always think of boys as doing textile art, they want to start incorporating some, you know, mixed media, textile sewing, stitching. So I think the guy that's kind of like the head of the year groups I'm teaching for art wants me to maybe teach some of the teachers some of the textile stuff, because it's not a medium that really, maybe Sue-Ann has done it, but I don't think any of the others would have. Yeah, so that could be fun. At least I feel like I have some value to add if I'm teaching them textiles, because that's an area that I'll have the knowledge in that they don't have. Yeah, so it'll be a fun year doing something different. I've got a lot of information to get my head around. It's going to be a gradual process. Yeah, but anyway. So other than that, my son's gone away. I think I told you that he's going on a gap year, or he's gone on a gap year. Actually, I think I've told you this, just 2.5 hours south of Sydney, working for an outdoor ed part of our school. So I will get to see him, because the year group that he works with is the year group I'm in charge of. So I am mostly focused on the boys that are in Sydney, at our campus in Sydney, but I also go down to the boys that are down where he is too. So I will be going down for visits, and he also gets a little bit of time off and can come back to Sydney. We kind of FaceTimed him yesterday and had a good chat, because it was my little nephew's birthday. So we had to get cousin Jamie on the phone. Everyone had a chat. And he's not far from Juju, is he? Juju, he's down the hill, like probably 40 minutes up to Mum. So Mum will get to see him quite a bit this year, once we work out when he's having days off. Sometimes he'll just go hang out with Mum instead of coming to Sydney. And then sometimes he'll come to Sydney. It's definitely quieter without him, that's for sure. I hope I'm on screen. I'm just going to have I stitched that yet? No, just need to straighten that up. Okay, now I'll be going into that. Oh, this is almost like a super mini snippet roll. I mean, you're not going to add many features on here. The other things I was thinking of for these, that piece is going to be crooked. Look at that, it's gone over. And that that'll come up here a bit. I might trim those little bits there. Other ideas I've had. So, there's so much on Pinterest, things that can give you ideas and inspire you. Fabulous. Just got all hooked. I think just that one. I'm going to put a bit of that just under there. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked by bits coming out. They're tiny little bits. Zoomy is going on behind me. So things I was thinking of, you could get some fabric and just have a plain fabric and just do stitching on it. So different coloured cantha stitching in patterns, in different directions if you want to. You could do some embroidery. So like once I'm done with this, I'm thinking of doing a little bit of stitching in some different colours, which I think could look good. You could do embroidery like, I've seen cuffs with embroidered vines and things like that running up the cuff, flowers and that kind of stuff. You could embellish, you could make it much thicker. One person you should look at is hen's teeth. just search for hen's teeth. Hen's teeth, I think if you put in cuff, it should come out. Up on Pinterest, she has done some really wonderful cuffs out of vintage textiles and bits of embroidery. So if you wanted to do a thicker one, so you have more space to move. Like even for example, like not exactly this because I probably wouldn't have all the buttons, but even like, you know, turning something like that into a cuff. People have done with a bit more lace coming off it. I've seen even much thicker ones. So you make it as thick as you want. I'm just starting off with a small one, but I might want to do some more and do a thicker one. Hello, Alfie. So Bobby's in a cat tree and Alfie is under her cat tree. He actually keeps trying to play with her. She still hasn't warmed up to him yet. She tolerates him and she's definitely not ready to play. I'm not going to canthus stitch there because I've already got those stitches. He really does want to play with her. He's all excited and he chases after her a bit and then she hisses at him and she gives him bum taps, swipes with a paw. But she does tolerate him. I can even feed them in the kitchen at the same time now and they don't bother each other anymore. They used to. Alfie used to try and eat her food. He still will if she's not there, but when she's there, he just gives her her space to have her dinner or her breakfast or whatever. So we are not long until Rach arrives. March, she's coming. It's not long at all. Which will be good, and we'll be stitching a lot when she's here because I've taken the 2 weeks while she's here. I think she's here for about 3, but I've taken 2 weeks off work, long service leave, so I can do some stuff with her. Yeah, so it's a little bit fiddly this, but we'll get there. It won't take too long, I don't think. All right, I'm thinking maybe I'll turn the camera off because it's really just quite boring watching me do a running stitch on this, and I'll come back and show you it when it's done. Okay, I'll see you soon. All stitched down, and now I'm going to add, I just put a little bit of blue there. I thought I'd stitch that at the same time as stitching this down. All right, so with the number, I am using a number 12 Perle red. It's a thin one, 12, thinner than 8. And I am doing a whip stitch or overcast stitch around the edge. So not a super long video tonight. This is all I'm going to do for right now. I need to decide if I want to embellish any further. I'll probably embellish a little bit more with thread rather than things like buttons. Just because buttons, other than one I might put here for my closure, I'm not sure yet. I'll decide that for next week. They might get in the way a little bit, but we'll see. I might change my mind. And I will add on my backing, and if I want to thicken this up a little bit, I could add a bit of felt in between, or wadding, quilt wadding, that kind of thing, before I stitch down my background, my back. And I'm going to have the raw edges that are frayed. You could trim them off to neaten them up, or you could also turn them in. If you're doing, if you really just want to keep it to slow stitching, then you just hand stitch it all rather than machine stitching. But that is an option. If you want to machine stitch, you're welcome to. Obviously, we're not going to control what anyone does. It's up to you. All right, so sorry I went silent. I was just thinking. I realised I was silent, and you're just watching me do something really boring. I'm almost done. One more stitch. Yeah, so we'll be interested to see what you come up with, whether you are going to do a cuff, a brooch, what else could you do? You could do a belt. A belt's wearable. If you wanted to do a whole belt, that would take you a while. So yeah, just something wearable. Totally your call. So as we said, all our projects in these 6 months will have some form of function. So people don't need to ask, what are you going to do with it? Because they'll have a function. Yeah, so something wearable. So have fun with that one. Next week, I think I will be finishing this cuff, because these are just little tiny slow stitch projects. Pull out your little scraps, because you'll be able to make use of them. And I'll see you next week. Am I on screen? Next week when I finish my little cuff off. So just to give you an idea, on my mega wrist. Okay. Some kind of closure there, and it'll get a bit thicker when I put my backing fabric. Can't turn my wrist that way, but anyway. One thing I was going to do. I was going to embroider the word love on there. That's one thing I was going to do, and I was just going to do it in a red perle. So, sorry, before I go, I'll quickly show you what I do with that. I get one of my friction pens. Write the word. So I'm going to keep the letters simple. L-O-V. I'll do an E like that. All right, so I'm going to just quickly show you embroidering them. This is so simple, it won't take long. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Let's just do the L. So over the top of the friction pen, I can iron it later, but I'm going over it anyway. I will just do a back stitch. So you start like a running stitch, come up a little bit further like you're doing another running stitch, but as the name of the stitch says, you just go back. So back to the hole, previous hole. Come forward a little bit. And back. I'll do the L, and then I'll show you something you can do which really neatens up your lettering, your hand lettering. Well, I think it does anyway. So I'm trying to keep my stitches fairly small. Oh, you know what else I might do because I'm doing love? I might put a little heart on it somewhere as well. I might embroider that, or I think embroidering it because it's small rather than cutting one out of fabric. That would be too tiny. There's also, like, I'd really like to try weaving, like just tiny weaving where it's like a bracelet with some hand-dyed yarns. Not technically slow stitching, but something that could go along with your little cuff that you're doing. Okay, so the L's done. And then what I like to do sometimes, and I'll do it this time just so I can show you, just come up where I had my last stitch finish, and I'm going to whip it. So whipping it means I turn the needle around so I don't poke myself with the sharp end. I just have to, my stitches are small, get under that stitch, pull the thread through, and I'm always going to go bottom to top, so same direction. Get the second stitch. Okay, and then the third one. Okay, and then I'm going to come around the corner and do the first one, which is a small one there, which is kind of good because it'll keep my whipping neat. Always going in the same direction, otherwise it won't. You can go the other direction if you're trying to achieve a different look. There is a stitch where you go under from bottom to top and then top to bottom, so you do it the opposite each time, but I'm not doing that. I'm just whipping it, and then I've gone through the last stitch and I'll just put it back through that top hole, and it's actually, get rid of those threads I pulled in there, it's actually really solid. I'll just focus it. Okay, so I'll do the rest. All right, so I will get on with the rest of that off camera, and I think I might even do a little red heart, embroider a heart there. I could do a blue one over here. Who knows? I'll play around with it. So thank you for watching this week, and I will see you again next week. Bye.